Hello and welcome to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about how to knit herringbone in the round and the method that I use to try to make that join as seamless as possible. It's kind of dark there, so this is the same thing here, same pattern. I'm currently recording this specifically for the herringbone hygge pullover, which is what this sample is. It's what I'm wearing. So there's the band at the bottom of the body and the band at the bottom of the sleeves, and this is herringbone in the round. And let me see, where's the beginning of the round? Here, right here. So the join isn't 100% seamless, like it doesn't 100% match up. But what I'm going to show you is how to make it as unnoticeable as possible. So we will go ahead and start with just typical herringbone in the round, and then once we get to the beginning of the round again, I will show you how that join works. But so here I'm at the beginning of the round. When you are working herringbone after stockinette, you will most likely be increasing needle size. If you have interchangeable needles, you can just change the tips. If you do not have interchangeable needles, you would just grab the new size, pretend this is a new size, and just transfer the stitches over to the new size. You could also just use the new needle and knit onto that. Some of the testers found that it was easier to change needles because it is a fairly big difference in size. They recommended that you change before you start. So I personally like to change just the right tip to begin with, because then these stitches aren't as tight on the needle. So here I've just changed needles, and let's go ahead and get started. We start by knitting 2 together, which is just, a regular knit 2 together, except for now instead of usually you would just slide this off. That's not what we're going to do for herringbone. We are only going to slide off this first leg, first stitch. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit here. So let's do that again. Knit 2 together, slipping only the first stitch off, and we continue that for the whole first round. Knit 2 together, slide the first stitch off. So maybe it can look a little, it sounds a little weird. It's maybe something you've never seen before, but it's probably not a particularly difficult technique for you if you're already familiar with knit 2 together. I don't know if you can see that as well. Try to keep my hands out. So there's our knit 2 together, and slide just the first stitch off. I just hold the second stitch as I slide that off. So I'll go ahead and finish working around this round and catch up with you on the end of the round. All right, so here I've worked to the last 3 stitches. There's 3 stitches left on the left needle. This is what the work is looking like. So we're starting to see that first slant right here. And now we're almost to the end of the round. So if you have my pattern, the instructions say repeat to the last stitch in the round. So we're going to go ahead and work 2 more stitches. Knit 2 together, knit 2 together. So we are working that last stitch, but we're not sliding it off. Okay, so now that we have just our one stitch left in the round, we slip that stitch knitwise to the right needle. So as if you were to knit it, slip it to the right needle. Remove this beginning of round marker and then transfer that stitch back to the left needle and place the marker to the right. Does that make sense? Well, basically what we did was we moved the beginning of the round marker from the left needle to the right needle, skipping over this stitch. So this is placing this the first stitch of the next round instead of the last stitch of this round. And at the same time, we're twisting this stitch. So now it's going to be in the slanting the direction of the next round. So that's the end of the first round. And we start round 2 here. Oh, don't worry, I'll go ahead and show this again for round 3 if that was confusing. But now let's go ahead and start round 2. I'm going to go ahead and change my left needle to my larger needle size now that I have worked one round. So now both tips are the same size. All right, so for round 2, it's basically the same as round 1, except for we're going through the back loop. So we're going to knit 2 together through the back loop and slipping the first stitch off. 2 together through the back loop and slip the first stitch off. And so we just continue that all the way through round 2 until we get to the last stitch. So I'll see you there, but here's where you can start to see how the diagonals are working out for the herringbone. Alrighty, I will see you towards the end of the round. All right, so here we are, the last stitch of round 2. We have 2 rounds now of herringbone, and so we're starting to see that V shape that really makes the herringbone what it is. So for round 2, since this has now been a knit 2 together through the back loop, we're going to do the same idea that we are going to move our beginning of round marker over the last stitch. So the last stitch now becomes the first stitch, and we're going to twist that stitch. So we're going to do this by slipping the last stitch knitwise. Taking our beginning of round marker off, transferring the last stitch back, and placing the stitch marker on the right needle. And now we're ready to start round 3, which is exactly the same as round 1 because herringbone in the round is a 2-round repeat. So we are going to be working knit 2 together through the front loop, slipping the first stitch off. And we're just going to continue that for all of round 3. And I will meet up with you again when we have just 1 stitch left at the end of round 3. All right, so here we are, the last stitch of round 3. We're going to transfer this stitch over, move our beginning round marker, and transfer it back. So we're going to slip the stitch knitwise to the right needle. We're going to remove the beginning of round marker. We're going to transfer this stitch back, and we're going to place the marker on the right side, on the right needle. And now we're ready to start round 4. So round 4 is exactly like round 2, which means round 4 we will be working knit 2 together through the back loop. When you work this first stitch, this applies to any of the rounds, but just like when you're working anytime you're working magic loop, if you're using magic loop like I am, we'll go ahead and make sure we keep that snug here. So just keep that first stitch snug so that you don't end up with a big gap on the edges. All right, and now we just work round 4 as knit together through the back loop, sliding only the first stitch off. And hopefully now you're starting to feel like you're getting the hang of herringbone. So this is herringbone stitch in the round. The odd rounds, or first and third rounds, etc., are knit 2 together, sliding the first stitch off. And the even rounds, or rounds 2, 4, etc., are knit 2 together through the back loop and sliding the first stitch off. And then we've just made that adjustment to the end of the round and the beginning of the round to help tidy it up, to make it as seamless of a connection there at the beginning of the round as possible. And so to do that, we're twisting the last stitch of the round and making it the first stitch of the next round. So I will go ahead and finish knitting here round 4, and I will catch you on the other end just to demonstrate one more time what we're doing and to show the completed 4 rounds that really gives you a look of what the herringbone pattern looks like. All right, I'll see you there. All right, so here we are, the last stitch of round 4. Once again, we are going to transfer that, or slip that stitch knitwise, and then we're going to remove the beginning of round marker. We'll slip that stitch, or transfer that stitch back, and place the marker again. And now you're ready to begin round 5. If you are ready for the bind off, or when you get ready for the bind off, you don't need to bother transferring this stitch here. You can just continue to the end of the round. So this is what our 4 rounds of herringbone stitch look like. It's just this really fun V-shaped pattern. You can see how it connects there with the stockinette stitch at the bottom. And I just love it. I think it's such a fun texture. It adds a nice modern kind of twist to knitting without being, I don't know, like a really complex technique. So that is herringbone stitch worked in the round with a modification to tidy up the beginning of the round join. If you found this tutorial helpful, be sure to follow the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel here. You can check out my channel for additional knitting tutorials, and then I also have design overview videos, and I have podcast episodes for designers. So you can go ahead and check those out, and I look forward to seeing you around. Happy knitting!